Hello and a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to a very hot and sticky UK today. We're joined today by the Global Institute of Sport, Richard Cross. He's going to be talking to you about the pathway to your career within sport. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few campuses on there, a few locations where you can study at. So this is bound to be an extremely popular session. So please pop your questions if you're watching on demand at webinars@postgradsolutions.com. We've got all your details. It's an extremely popular session already of registration, so we will reach out to you. But for now, I'd like to hand you over to Richard. Richard's going to be taking you through the next 30 to 40 minutes. I'll be back for the Q&A at the end, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care.
Hi there, everybody. Yes, as I was lovely introduced there, my name is Rick Cross. I am the Global Recruitment Manager here at the Global Institute of Sport. So I'm going to be delivering a little bit of a session just for you to learn a little bit about what on earth the Global Institute of Sport is, what can we do for you, and obviously talk quite a bit about sport and the sports industry as a whole, which is one of the most exciting industries in the world to be a part of, not just work, but just engage with in any respect. So this is a pathway to your dream career in sport. There is my lovely face and a nice little email as well if anybody would like to get in touch with me. Beyond my role as a global recruitment manager, I am also a current student on our international sport management course, which is an award-winning course and one of our sort of flagship courses that we offer here at the Global Institute of Sport. So GIS, we have established ourselves as the destination for sports industry education globally. We are the largest sports institution in the world. We are the largest institution that is focused entirely on the sports industry. And what that means is that that's our only priority. Many other conventional institutions, in many ways, they're looking into various different subject areas and things like this, to provide opportunities for their students, to obviously provide pathways and graduation opportunities for their students. But, we are only focused on sport. So if you're interested in coming and studying biology, for example, we are probably not the place for you. But if you want to engage with the sports industry, learn about the sports industry, and become a key leader in the sports industry, we are the people that you should be talking to in one way, shape, or form. Our mission is ideally to transform the global sports industry through education and collaboration. Education and collaboration are the two key words that you'll hear with regards to GIS. So education is obviously, we are an institution, we are a university. So the knowledge, the learnings that you gain from your time here are absolutely pivotal in providing you with a great pathway to getting into the industry and understanding the context of this industry, understanding the various nuances that go with it. We have a lot of sort of businessy courses and then some more coaching courses. So if, for example, you're from the business side of things, you're looking to really contextualize your experience that you've got so far in business to transform that into the sports industry and apply that to the sports industry. So that's one half of what we do. The other is a huge emphasis on collaboration. So collaboration is partnerships with the industry. Collaboration is with your fellow colleagues, your peers. Collaboration is with your lecturers, with all the different networks that we're going to help provide you to. The sports industry is one of the most networked industries in the world, which can be seen as a little bit scary. But ultimately, if you're interested in sport and you're networking within sport, then the wonderful thing is that you're always talking about sport. Talking about sport is your networking. In a lot of ways, I always describe it as going, in England, going down to the pub and having a chat with your friends about football or about the structure of a league or the structure. It's a very, very similar thing, except you're talking with people who are looking at it from that slightly, more serious outlook and with the ability to actually change these things for the better or for what's intended. And so, we've instilled a lot of that in all of our graduates that have left our institution. So if you look at those statistics on the left-hand side, my favorite is actually the lowest number there. So we do have 99% of our graduates are in full-time work or employment within 9 months, with 79% of those specifically studying or working within sport. So that means that 4 out of 5 people that come to us that are specifically looking for sport opportunities and sport, options and employment, they are getting what they want from ourselves. So we've got hundreds, thousands of alumni all around the world, but we're very proud to say that our graduates work in all of the 20 Premier League clubs. I'll have to double check that now that obviously we've had relegations and promotions, but I believe it's still the case. But beyond that, you know, in the EFL and the wider Football League of England, we have about 67, 68 of the clubs covered in terms of our graduates working with them. And so that is just football, and that is just in the UK. So, you know, we've got students working all over the world in a variety of different sports, different locations, different elements to those sports as well. So you've got people working in, you know, the top levels of, let's say, you know, the NBA you see on the screen there. We've got people at the top levels with NBA, but then we've got people who are working right the way through grassroots community organizations, you know, through all kinds of different subsequent industries that all sort of lead into the sport industry too. With the sport industry being the 9th largest industry in the world and valued at about $3.65 trillion, expected to grow considerably as well. So, you know, there's so many different opportunities to get involved in within sport. It's not just working for a club. It's not just working for a league, for example. It's working with all different kinds of organizations that are working alongside the sports industry. Here are some of our happy graduates that I won't spend too much time on there, but to kind of profile just a few of our graduates that are out there in the industry, I wanted to give a bit of a fairly diverse view of roles, etc. So, you know, to point out a couple here, we've got my good friend Edem there. Edem is a Ghanaian student who studied with us maybe 2 years ago. In his time with us, he then researched a lot into the African sporting ecosystem. As a result, he started a podcast, which is called the Africa Business of Sport podcast, which is making huge waves in the region, particularly as it relates to kind of professionalizing African sport and helping to connect a lot of the dots and connecting the kind of the good people that are driving it forward with other good people that are driving it forward. So shout out Edem and shout out that podcast. We've got Maria Hassler there. She studied with us maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Since then, she's been working predominantly with Nike. She was the lead on the Lionesses, the England women's team, at the last World Cup in Australia, and actually traveled around with the team on a daily basis from game to game in the hotel and everything, and making sure that they were satisfying the Nike contracts and getting all the kit and everything needed, looking, you know, shiny on a world stage. We have, from a coaching perspective, we've got Hugo Thaxter, who's a video analyst, so a little bit less coaching focused, I suppose, there, but working with Arsenal. Then we've got Connor Walsh, who set up a soccer club called FC London in Ontario, Canada, I believe. He's originally from the UK, but moved over to do that. So that's just a few of the lovely faces of students that have come through our doors. And actually, just while we're on that, if anyone's interested to learn a little bit more about alumni or chat with alumni, get in touch with me. Or alternatively, you can always just go into LinkedIn, find the Global Institute of Sport, look at our alumni on the alumni tab, and just have a scroll through there, see what people are up to. It's really interesting, actually, and it hopefully kept your mind going a little bit about the kind of roles you can get involved in. And definitely reach out. You know, I always encourage students to reach out to our alumni because they always say quite nice things, which is great. So how do we do what we do? How do we get people into the sports industry? Well, a lot of it's down to our learning model. So that's broken down into what we teach, where we teach, and how we teach. So obviously, I'm going to talk about the postgraduate options more so today, but we do offer undergraduate options and professional qualifications. But master's degrees are our bread and butter, as is the term here in the UK. So that's our base, that's our foundation, that's what we're absolutely built upon, master's degrees. Where we teach them, so we deliver a lot of stuff online because it's quite flexible, especially when you're a postgraduate. You know, we appreciate that flexibility is absolutely key. And so with that in mind, you know, we offer flexible online degrees, but then we also offer on-campus degrees so that you can access some of our stadium campuses there too. So most notably, we've got full-time courses in Brussels with RSC Anderlecht. We have full-time in Miami with Inter Miami, and then we have full-time in Sydney with the Sydney Cricket Ground. And then we have a bunch of other stadiums and locations where you can tap in and out of with regards to events and opportunities and network sessions and all kinds of fun stuff, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a few slides. How we teach. So like I said, you know, 50% of what we do is, you know, the educational side of things. So the actual knowledge delivery, the content delivery, things like this. And obviously that is absolutely paramount in understanding this industry. But the rest of it is that partnership side of things, the collaboration side of things. So what that means is, from a how we teach perspective, is bringing guest speakers in, right? So we'll bring, world-class names like the likes of Gareth Southgate, for example, Paul Barber, the CEO of Brighton. We'll bring in, former athletes and all kinds of people to talk about their experience, which is for sure very, very exciting and very interesting to hear. But to be honest, it's the other types of guest speakers that we get that I think are more useful for our students. So, for example, we had on a marketing module that was delivered on my course, we had the chief marketing officer for the Chelsea women's team come and speak, in class and to a room of maybe about 10 people, where you're able to basically get to know this person. And whilst they're not household names, their careers, for example, are a lot more realistic and attainable for people who haven't been professional footballers in the past, for example, or professional sports people. So we're bringing these people to you to connect with them, to learn from them. And often that can lead to actual, genuine, sort of tangible opportunities with those clubs or those organizations that come and talk with us. And that is all in the essence of networking opportunities that we run through events and all kinds of things as well, which, again, I'll touch on in a bit. Some of those partners that I've been mentioning are listed on the screen here. So these are just some of our kind of more, I guess, household namey kind of organizations, and these are just some of the official partnerships that we have. We've got hundreds and hundreds of more sort of unofficial partnerships with organizations where we work with them, as and when. But I guess that's the nature of the industry. Sometimes, for example, if we're offering placements with a club, that club might go down, they might get relegated, or there might be some external force that means that they have to really, really pivot their priorities. So, when it comes to offering opportunities in that respect, it's hard for us always to gain year on year the exact same opportunities for students, but they're always coming up. But these guys on the screen here, they work with us every single year. For example, with the Premier League, we work very closely with them to offer opportunities for their academy players who are getting basically released at the end of a season, to work with them and say, hey, look, just because your professional career is, maybe taking a slight hit, why don't you continue studying education to continue your opportunities in sport, right? Because, we, in a lot of ways, were founded based off the fact that there's no point if there's a football player and an athlete, for example, if they can't quite make it at the top, or they can't quite make it at professional level, we don't want to lose them to other industries. These people are still incredibly intelligent when it comes to the sports industry. They've been through it, so we don't want to lose them to other industries. Keep that passion, keep that knowledge in this game for the betterment of the next generations. And some of the people that really believe in this mission are on the screen here. Apologies if the font is quite small. We've just been trying to fit as many on as possible. So these are all people who are industry leaders in particular regions around the world that sit on what's known as our industry advisory board. So what does that mean? That means that they have a say in all the curriculums that we deliver every single year. So every year we send our curriculums to these people to basically run it by them, make sure that it is as contemporary as possible, and it's the kind of stuff that they're looking for when they're hiring people. So as well as that, they'll offer lots of mentorship opportunities. They'll come and do talks with us all the time. If there's new initiatives that they're running in their various organizations, they'll likely come to us for insight or for personnel to come along and come and help with as well. So great interesting people there. And we are globally recognized, as I think I alluded to a little bit earlier. So, we've got a bunch of different awards related to the sports industry, also the higher education industry. As it relates to the higher education industry, we're always heralded for our industry collaboration. So you'll see that bottom left there, winner of the outstanding industry collaboration. And again, that's a lot down to the fact that we focus on one industry and one industry alone. So that means that whatever opportunities and whatever connections that we do make within the industry, we know that we can maintain them and grow these connections and these partnerships with the industry, because we know that this year, in 5 years, in 10 years, that's what the demand from our students is going to be. So that's why we prioritize the industry collaboration. And while we're recognized for it, we are ranked in the global top 25 programs and top 10 in Europe for our postgraduate courses as well. So there's a variety of different things that we are nicely recognized for. So I want to get into kind of the meat and bones of our study options now. So looking at the various different ways that you are able to study. So we've broken them down into 4 kind of categories, really. So starting with studying online, I suppose, is more about obviously delivering, receiving the content on your own time, around your busy life. So for me, for example, I study our international sport management course online part-time. So part-time is over 2 years. And how I like to do it is often, I'm quite busy. I travel a little bit in this role. So sometimes, it's quite hard to find time to work on your assignments or you're, taking the lectures. So often what I do is I kind of let 2 or 3 weeks sort of pile up, 2 or 3 weeks sort of work to pile up. And then I'll spend maybe a full day or a full day and a half over a weekend catching up with it. And that way I find a balance for myself. And that's completely understood by the lecturers. So it's whatever really suits you, I suppose. And, when it comes to online delivery, we deliver what's known as like an e-lesson every single week. And then every other week, that is basically supported by a live session there as well. So that's an opportunity where you can obviously interact in real time, ask questions. But, our lecturers are completely understanding that you're busy, and so they're happy to kind of work around your schedules, and find times where you can talk maybe in an evening if that works for you, or something like this. So as well as that, looking at the map, although you're studying online, you can still access all these kind of locations around the world. This isn't even an extensive map. I need to update the new one with some new stuff that's happening very, very recently. But yeah, you can tap into these regions in many different ways in terms of we have the ongoing events there. We have partnerships with the teams or the stadiums or the organizations there. And so one thing that we do, which is really exciting, is known as a global sports summit, which I'll talk about in a few more slides as well. So these online courses are listed below. Actually, they're not all online, these ones, but this is just an extensive list of our courses. It's definitely easier to kind of go on our website. Just click on the little study tab and you can see a little bit more opportunities there, and learn a little bit more about the modules that go into these courses that make it up as well. Modules are kind of little courses. They're little lessons for anyone that's not familiar with that. Looking at on-campus options, we have a fantastic opportunity to study a postgraduate diploma in international football business. This is delivered from the lovely Lotto Park campus, which is in Brussels, home of RSC Anderlecht, who are the most successful team in Belgian football. They're regulars in the Champions League and Europa Leagues, for example. So they're a fantastic club. It's really great studying on a campus that's in a stadium when you want to work in the sports industry, because you're kind of studying where you're going to be working in a lot of ways. You're involved in that environment. There's quite a lot of research in sort of pedagogy around, studying in that particular environment and obviously translating into the work life in the future. So really cool international football business course that is delivered, like I say, on campus over the course of 1 year. And it's full-time, but what we consider full-time here is it's actually a full day Monday and a full day Tuesday where you are on the campus delivering, receiving your kind of course content and interacting with your lecturers and your fellow students. But with the idea with that is that then there's a good few other days of the week there where you can be engaging with the industry. So that could be working with a club either voluntarily or with a placement or hopefully a full-time job. Although that might, if you're new to the industry, that might take a little bit of time to get going as you study with us. As well as this, we work in partnership with an organization or an institution called Vrij Universiteit Brussels. It's my best Dutch coming out there, who are one of the top 20 universities in Western Europe. They are accreditation partners. So what does that mean? That means that basically they work with us and you effectively become a student of GIS and VUB at the same time. So you kind of get a best of both worlds. You can benefit from their campuses in the city as well. And most importantly, they are the institution that are administering and sponsoring your visa. So if anybody's interested in moving to Brussels, we do have visa opportunities there, which is really exciting, and would really encourage you to get in touch ASAP if you're looking to maybe start for September, if you wanted to talk about that. We have a really cool opportunity in Dubai here, which is what we kind of categorize as study and play. So what it is we've partnered with an organization called The Player. The Player deliver very, very high class football training in Dubai. They have these state of the art facilities. They have educational spaces within their facility as well, where you can focus on your work. And the idea is that you would study with us in an online delivery. So you study one of those online courses that were on the previous slide, and then at the same time you can be playing football at a fairly high level with actual top coaches coming. It's actually started by a former Premier League player called Stephen Taylor and a partner of his, who are basically there to help develop you as a player whilst at the same time developing your education off the pitch as well. So a bit of a best of both worlds there. In Dubai, we've got partnerships with a lot of the UAE Pro League and lots of other sporting organizations in the region too. Obviously, a very hot region for the sports industry nowadays, especially with the influx in the kind of Saudi involvement. Of course, we're hosting the World Cup in 2034, I believe. So huge emphasis on football and sport as a whole in that region. We have another opportunity around study and working. So at this point, I always preface that this is not by any stretch of the imagination the only study and working opportunities that we offer. As I mentioned, we've got hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to work within the industry with a variety of different organizations. Now, the reason I highlight these two is that they're definitely the most sort of packaged up and structured internships that we offer here. So they're also probably the most well paid that consistently come up here. So, for example, we have an opportunity to study in the US. We've partnered. You can study in the US, but work in the US as well. So, again, how it could work is that you would study one of our master's degrees online, and then at the same time, you would then be working and interning within a football club in Australia or in the USA. So, take the US, for example. Here, we have partnered with over 500 youth clubs across America in virtually every single state, where students would be studying with us on one of those degrees that you'll see listed there online. But at the same time, they're actually physically in the country delivering opportunities or delivering their internship rather in these clubs. So if you're a businessy student, they need help in business, in operations, in logistics. Excuse me. And from that, what's interesting is that for those of you that aren't familiar with the US sort of grassroots football, is that it operates on what's known as sort of a pay to play delivery. So that means that every single player, or their families rather, have to pay $1,000-$2,000 a season to play football. So some of these clubs have 10,000 players on their records, which 10,000 times $2,000 per head, quite a lot of money floating around that place. So they are proper businesses, and debate the ethics of that as you if you will. But from somebody looking to gain experience, it's a fantastic opportunity there. So that's just one opportunity. We can get you the visa that pays minimum of $26,000. Accommodation is included. They'll rent you a car, all that kind of thing as well. So anyone interested, get in touch. Similar opportunity in Australia as well. However, that is entirely just coaching focused in this regard. But all in all, we have a career support team that are here to support you in every single aspect. So, when it comes to looking for experiences and opportunities within the sports industry, ultimately it falls on you and us. It's a very collaborative experience, right? So if you're expecting to come to GIS, just work on your assignments every single, all the time, and not really engage with the other stuff, not really talk to the careers team, not really, push yourself out of your comfort zone when it comes to talking to other people in the industry, then, it's not going to work as well, right? So it's very collaborative. So as you're studying with us, we want you to be looking into the industry, looking across what's on offer, what opportunities can you identify, what various different ideas do you have, and looking at how you might engage with that. And then you can also go to our careers team and say, hey, can you support me in this? And that more than happy to help shape you to go and get a role, or to kind of promote your business, or to pitch a business, all these kinds of things. On the other side, though, one of the things I recommend to every student that joins us is to make yourself known to the careers team as soon as you can, really. Let them know who you are, let them know what you're about. At the end of the day, we only exist because of how great we are at getting people, opportunities and jobs in the sports industry, right? So it's in our best interest to really help you. So if you show who you are, you share a little bit about what you want to work in, what you don't want to work in, what your interests are, then as our careers team, who are some of the most networked people in sport, are out there in the world, or talking with somebody, or hear something, through a grapevine, then from there they might think, hey, so and so spoke to me the other day and was really keen on working in Formula One. There's a team who's looking for a whole bunch of different new people. I'll send them their way, or I'll connect you with the person that I know. And so that's how the sports industry works, really. There's I'm sure everyone who's interested in working in sport, you've all gone on LinkedIn, you've all seen all these jobs that are posted, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of applications. So what you're seeing when it comes to those jobs is that's actually only 20% of the jobs that are available in sport. 80% of the jobs never actually see public job boards. So they come through mediums like ourselves. They come through connections that someone else has made. They don't, or there may be jobs that have never existed before and somebody's pitched them and it's been taken, which we see a lot with our students. So, that's worth taking in mind. But, careers team are here to support you. And they do that, through a lot of sort of traditionally ways as well. So we'll work on your CV, your resume, making that as sport related as possible. We'll develop your profile on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a huge, huge tool in the sports industry. We'll prep you for interviews. We'll do personal development plans, job applications. We'll do all sorts of stuff, right? So, we do operate in a very conventional careers team in that respect, except they're solely focused on sport. And that's everything that all of this is tailored towards. So I mentioned a little bit about our global summits earlier as well. So this is a very sort of all-encapsulating event where you can bring together, some really cool experiences overseas. You can meet all your other students that are from every corner of the globe. You can go to a brand new place. You can network with some of the, the greatest minds in particular regions of sport in the world. You can really do a whole load of stuff. So what is a global summit? It's effectively week-long experience where we invite roughly 40 to 50 of our students, I would say, to come out to one of those campus or study hubs that you saw on the map earlier, and basically engage within that region for about a week. So I was lucky enough, I went out to our Miami summit a couple of months ago. And so in that week, we had a day where we went to a Major League Baseball game where we had a tour of the stadium, basically learned about how baseball is quietly dying in America, and just taking that on board as to what are the various different things that team and that stadium are trying to do to bring fans in. Then the next day we had a very kind of professional development day on campus at Inter Miami Stadium, where we delivered I'd say 7 or 8 guest speaker sessions in that day. So we had people from Formula One, we had people from the Florida Panthers, we had people from Inter Miami, we had people from the World Cup organization committee. All kinds of people came. And then we had a big old networking event at the end, which was with about 150 people in the sort of South Florida region. Then we went to NBA games. We did a little bit of a professional development exercise where you work with some of your other students to deliver a bit of a presentation around how to influence something related to Inter Miami. It's just a really great week, and I've worked it for 4 years, and I hadn't actually gone to a summit yet. Took the opportunity, and I always knew they were quite cool, but I never really quite appreciated how influential it was in some of our students' lives. And that was really brilliant to see, actually. And so, especially if, perhaps you're an online student, we have, sometimes you can have that thought of, oh, am I going to be alone? Am I going to get, opportunities to meet people? I'd say 95% of the students that were on the summit were all online students, and they were the best of friends. And the entire week, they absolutely gelled together. It's now working. Now our students are, going on their own accord to go, halfway across the world to meet up with friends that they made on this week's. It's led to job opportunities for a good chunk of these students as well. So it's a really, really, truly exciting thing to do, and we're always going to be adding more. This is just our calendar date for this year / next year. Last year / this year. So we've gone through January, we've gone through April, we've gone through June. If you're interested, there'll be a bunch of different LinkedIn posts about the June summit in Toronto, and then our next summit is going to be, I believe, it's going to be towards the end of September. Excuse me, to coincide with our welcome week for this intake, which will be in London. So we're looking at taking you around Premier League stadiums, to some games. We want to take you to St. George's Park, which is the home of the England football team, to do a big old networking day there too. So yeah, really exciting times. And so just to kind of tail off towards the end here, I just wanted to talk about what the admissions and this sort of element of the process is. So for those of you looking to potentially apply, what we are looking for is, obviously, you go to our website, click apply, you do the personal details, all that kind of stuff. And then what we want to see is an evidence of your highest academic qualification. So this could be a undergraduate course in most cases. It could be maybe a high school course, but then with that, we'd want to see an evidence of some experience. So, with a resume, CV, we can absolutely base off of and offer places based off of professional experience. We appreciate that some people have worked for 20 years in business, but they might not have an undergraduate degree, but that's still a very relevant thing that they're doing there. So yeah, with that in mind, we can accept based on experience. Every single student has to do a personal statement, which is approximately about 500 words outlining, your passion for sport, your career aspirations, and sort of why you want to study this course with us. And then, yeah, as long as that passion for sport and career ambitions comes out, the undergrad degree is the most straightforward approach to getting accepted here. We're looking for ideally a sort of 3.0 GPA or a 2.1 as it is in the UK, or equivalent experience. Or, every single application is dealt with very much individually. So, if you don't 100% meet some of these requirements, or maybe you over meet some of them or whatever, just submit your documents and we'll be able to find something for you. We really want to give everybody the best opportunity to get accepted. If you're looking at coaching courses as well, definitely involve every single coaching qualification you've ever done. Definitely highlight the evidence and the experience that you've done within the coaching or an analysis world, so that we can understand, what you're coming from, what levels you're at, that sort of thing. And then if anybody's never studied formally in English before, then we would need, and not from an English speaking country, then we would need to see English language qualification as well. Looking at the key dates, so we have the next one is in our September 2025 intake. So applications are still absolutely open for this. We have an international student deadline of August 1st if you're looking to get a visa to one of our on-campus courses. And then we have an orientation week beginning the 22nd of September, which is like a welcome week, with studies beginning the very end of September there. So still absolutely time to apply. Once you apply as well, we have the opportunity to that you can then apply for scholarships as well. So if you go onto our website, you'll find a scholarships tab on there. Just have a little look through. We've got, I'd say, 30 to 35 scholarships altogether, and we design them in the sense that every single student that is applying for us is eligible to be considered for at least sort of 2 to 4 scholarships, if you obviously apply for those as well, meaning that we keep them quite general. But then we also have more specific ones. So if you've been at a elite level of a sport, then we'll potentially take that into account. If you're from certain backgrounds, things like that, then we can take that into account as well. And so a lot of our scholarships do include reductions in tuition fees, which is very nice, but it also comes with great industry experiences. So in some cases, you'll get free opportunities to go to the global sports summits. You'll get mentorship opportunities. You'll get maybe a pot of money to spend on various different professional development things that you'd like to get involved in, and all kinds of stuff. So If you want to be considered for a scholarship, then the deadline for the scholarship is also August 1st. So if you're not applied at all to any of the courses, definitely get an application in there, so that we know that we can accept you or not. Then from there, you're welcome to apply for the scholarships as well. And like I said, the deadline is the 1st of August there, but we will announce the winners likely in sort of the second week of August there, and then you know what to do. We are also doing a scholarships and funding webinar tonight at 6 p.m. UK time. So if anyone wants to come and learn a little bit more about the details of our scholarships, definitely recommend enrolling for that. And if anyone does have any kind of other questions, or thinks they're really, really keen and would like to book a one-to-one with myself or one of the team, you can always email us at study@gis.sport. My email as well is just r.cross, cross, @gis.sport. Definitely reach out, let us know your questions, your concerns, but I believe we have a bit of time for some questions now. So I will
Yes,
stop sharing.
thank you, Richard. Appreciated. Really insightful presentation. I think it's always interesting when we hear about topics that are so unique, because we hear from unis all the time, different courses, different
Yeah.
providers, about pretty much mainstream courses, about how they're so broad and they offer various different things. So to hear just from the sports industry is great, really. One question I would have to start with is one of the things that struck me on part of the earlier presentation was just how open it is in terms of the individual. They
Mm.
might be in employment, it might be that they're taking a career break, it could be that they're fresh out of undergraduate level at university. How do you accommodate for those students that are, they're finding hard to come by? Let's just say they're in a job, they're at a football club at the moment or a sports club where they want to further their studies, but it's just so damn difficult to find the time. How do you help them with that?
Yeah, a lot of different ways, and I guess you hit the nail on the head with the sort of demographic of our students, really. So our students range from anywhere at master's level, age range, from about 22 to about 60, to be honest with you. And so often those 22-year-olds might be fresh out of undergraduate courses. They might have zero experience whatsoever in the working world. Will have the career changes. So I probably speak to at least one person a week who works for, say, one of these top 4 consultancies. They've earned a good amount of money, but now they're bored with their careers.
Yeah.
So people turn to passions, and one of the obvious passions that can come up is sport. And so then they get involved with us. And so we find a good way of trying to help them consolidate their experience, whilst it might not have been in sport, but consolidate it because it's not useless. And then apply that with the contextualization of the actual academic course, put that together, and then help them to find new opportunities for themselves. So when it comes to helping people manage their times, I think this is a change in the industry altogether, to be honest with you. And you said, you get a lot of big universities coming and talking about their courses, and their courses are great as well, right? But does it get you a job? That is entirely 100% what we're focused on here, the
Yeah.
employability of our students. That's the only metric that we actually truly care about, and pride ourselves on. Because I think in today's world, with education getting more and more expensive, you are looking for a genuine return on investment. So it's also in our best interest that if we're focused on employability, then ultimately it doesn't make sense for us to not be flexible. Because if you are going through a really busy time at work, or a lot of our students have families and kids and mortgages and things like that, right? Like, they have life to deal with. So, at times life gets busier and you can't really plan it. So we do everything in our power to keep the door open as long as possible for you to do an assignment. So, for example, one thing we do is every single semester, you get basically a one free pass to just, push your assignment deadline a week before, don't even have to give us an excuse. You can just do it. So that's just to give a little bit more breathing space there as it comes to assignments. I've done that every single semester just because you might as well. So that's just one thing. Our lecturers are genuine, just humans as well. So we can be quite flexible with changing assessment dates if we really need to, or For example, we had a student who this is a great story actually that embodies, I guess, a lot of what we're doing here. So we have a student who was from India who attended one of our guest speaker sessions here in the UK, and he it was with the commercial director of Watford Football Club. And so the Watford Football Club guy was talking about how they wanted to capture an Indian market in terms of new fans. And so our student basically put his hand up and said, "Hey, what you're going to do, I don't think it's going to work." Quite bold. To be in a classroom saying that, but he said, "I don't think it's going to work." So the commercial director said, "Okay, here's my card. Email me what you think will work, and we'll take it from there." That led to an internship. That then quickly led into a full-time role. That student then moved to Portsmouth to be in their Portsmouth Football Club to be in their commercial department. And so the reason I'm saying this as well is that he didn't submit his dissertation for about 2 years. But that was completely justified because it's not in our best interest. Just as he's found his foot in the sports industry, just as he's getting going, it doesn't make sense, and it's not right for us to then be knocking on his door all the time saying, "Where's this assignment? Where's this assignment?" To a large extent, the assignment doesn't matter anymore. He's got what he came here for.
Yeah.
But we then kept that door open for a couple of years. He finished his dissertation and graduated fully with his master's degree. And then that student, in a nice way that further embodies what we're all about, he now works basically with us as a bit of a consultant to help us with Indian students. And so he speaks with Indian students, off the good of his own heart to talk about his experience and help more people because he had a great time here. So I guess my point is, yeah, flexibility is absolutely key, specifically with the online courses. On campus is a little bit harder, but if that's more of a individual circumstance basis, I suppose. But we are much more flexible than many other institutions.
And I think that's a great story. I think that kind of sums up really, like you said, why a student would come to you. Ultimately, they're looking to get into employment by hook or by crook. It doesn't matter. I think we're all in the same kind of boat. Now, one of the questions that came in was around the online learning side of things. Now, I know you mentioned in the final paragraph of your last slide about the English language requirement on campus. That's so important. But there would be students that are watching that study online potentially in the future. It could be that their English is extremely poor.
Yeah.
How do they go about improving that? Does it really matter in terms of how good your English level is, and how would you encourage a student to kind of learn the English language rather than use some, well, I won't name the platforms, but use other AI platforms that can help you and aid you with that?
Interesting. Yeah. So we kind of cross that bridge at the application stage. So, for example, as we're talking online, all of our online programs are accredited by the University of East London, which is a UK-based institution. So, with that in mind, everything that we deliver at the moment is in English language. We are looking to deliver Spanish-speaking courses in the future as well, just as an FYI. But as it relates to English language, it's a postgraduate degree, right? It's a university degree, so you've got to have a solid command of the language to be writing assignments, to be absorbing the information, to be having detailed conversations with people. So, if you aren't sure how to prove your English language, but you're pretty confident of it, just get in touch with us. Apply, send us what you do have, or we can organize calls with you to discuss things. But if you wanted to improve, for example, we've got a partnership with a English language provider called Oxford International to offer discounted rates. They're not the only sort of provider that we accept. We accept your IELTSs, for example, as it relates. Duolingo the Duolingo test is accepted by some of our accreditation partners. Some of them are not. So it kind of depends on your individual circumstance. But if you have studied formally in English, that's completely fine. If you do have English language qualifications and things like that, we want to see them. If you don't, then obviously we can work with you to up that language requirement. Probably a bit too late for September now, but for future intakes, we can point you in the right direction and work with you there.
And apologies, I'm just looking at my phone at some of the questions that have come in on social
Completely
media.
fine.
a couple of the questions around the courses and the programs that I know you started off your presentation by saying if you're studying biology and if you're looking for a science, this probably isn't for you. But if you are studying law or studying business or you are studying one of the more mainstream subject areas, that it's probably an opportunity for you to use those skills within the sport industry because ultimately we see certain sports teams at the moment going through legal proceedings and there will be certain things happening that you will require people will require your skills, wouldn't they?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that it's just testament to genuinely how much opportunity there is in this industry. It's actually quite mind blowing the different avenues that it can take. I've worked in sport for nearly 5 years, and I guess I'm still learning all these different niches where there's opportunities, right? So, I think again it's case by case, right? So if you've maybe just done an undergraduate law degree, for example, and you've never really practiced or you've never used that in any sort of experiential setting, then if you were to pivot into the sports industry, it's going to be quite hard to kind of balance those two things, right? And to really leverage the legal proceedings, it's almost like starting from scratch again in that regard there. Having said that, if you've worked in the legal field for 10 years and then you want to, or 5 years or whatever, a little bit, and then you want to contextualize it towards the sports industry, that's where we can come in as well. So that's where we'd talk about studying, say, our football business course if you were looking to focus pure on football, because then you're gaining a lot of insight into the regulations, the laws, the guidelines that exist within sport and within football. And then with pairing that with the experience that you've got, your previous knowledge in law and things like that. So that's where we could work with you as well. If you wanted to set up your own practice, we can be quite entrepreneurial about things too. So, even yesterday I was talking with a prospective student who was she's worked in quite high up in analytics in the likes of Google, and now working with Paramount as well. But she's a huge sports fan, and so she's like, although I've not worked in sport at all, a lot of what I'm doing could be applied. And so that's where we come in. She's going to study our international sport management course, gain a great understanding of the industry as a whole from lots of different aspects, and then also benefit from the opportunities to connect and network and kind of start making a name for herself in sport. And in her case, with a CV that's got a bit of Google in there, really top organizations, plus then a contextualization degree in sport, I don't see her having any issues whatsoever in the future.
Super. Richard, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Thank you. I noticed Richard mentioned that there's a funding and scholarship webinar taking place tonight. Today's date is the 9th of July. So if you are watching today on social media, please head over to, presumably that will be on your YouTube channel and your website, Richard.
Yeah, it's just on our website. I don't know how far the chat function on here goes, but I'll post it in the chat.
And yes, and
For
that will
anyone.
go straight to social media now, so people will see
Oh,
that.
wow.
So, so yeah, like Richard's done there, he's put the chat in there, put the message in the chat there. So if you are watching on social, and I know a few people have asked very similar questions today around funding and scholarship, it's always a popular topic. Please head over 6 p.m. UK time tonight or study at GIS Sports.
Also,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah, just worth mentioning there as well. Likewise with this webinar, if you can't make it live, just
Yes.
register. We record them anyway, and we can send it out to you there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so everyone's got we've got all your details. So if anybody does want more information on that, we'll try and get a copy of the presentation and the webinar from this evening, and we'll try and send it to you also. But thank you for joining, Richard. Thank you for your time, and everyone in the background for helping arrange this as well. It's been a great session, and we look forward to hopefully helping you within your employment. But if you haven't got any more questions, GIS and Richard Chipperson. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.